Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's community information session. I'm Christine Robinson, Mayor of West Grey. I would like to thank everyone who is in attendance tonight, and I do see some members of council who are also attending. Thank you for tuning in. Tonight, we are here to listen. We are here to listen to staff in their presentation and also the community dialogue. There will be no decisions made this evening. This is not a council meeting. Also joining us tonight are our Chief Administrative Officer, Laura Johnston, our Clerk, Genevieve Charbach, our Administrator in the Clerk's Office, Lindsay Glazier, and leading tonight's session, our Recreation Supervisor, Cody Hewlett. So with that, I'll turn over the evening to Supervisor Hewlett.
Good evening and thank you, Mayor Robinson, and welcome everybody to tonight's information session. Before I begin, if you get disconnected at any point throughout the meeting, you can join us by phone by dialing 1-587-328-1099 and enter the meeting ID 864-833-24932. Tonight we will be focusing on 3 items: recreation updates, updates to the municipal alcohol policy, and looking at licensing our municipal facilities. Tonight's presentation will be available within the next business day on our website once the session has been completed. This session is also being recorded and will be posted. As well, on our website, there will be a feedback form for anybody who is interested in submitting their comments on any items discussed in tonight's meeting. Go to the next slide. The purpose of tonight's meeting will be to provide the community with updates generally on recreation within West Grey, to review changes to our draft alcohol policy and updates, to provide public with the proper tools and support to run events within our facilities, and to gain public input on the licensing of our recreation facilities. As Mayor Robinson had made mention to, we have a staff panel joining myself, Cody Hewlett, the Recreation Supervisor, today. On the call with me, I also have Laura Johnston, our CAO and Deputy Clerk, as well as Genevieve Charbach, who is our Clerk. The last 6 months have posed an interesting challenge within recreation in West Grey, and it hasn't stopped the momentum that we've created. Over the last 6 months, although some of our facilities have been closed, we have used the time to focus on updates and working on new policies, as well as some facility maintenance. Within recreation, one of our major updates that we've had coming down the pipe within the last year is we have launched a recreation management software. This software allows users to, what I say is book your play. So you can book facilities, you can also book the various recreation cohorts of programming that we have put together, and it essentially allows 24/7 access to recreation and our scheduling software. So it allows for online scheduling as well as facility requests and rentals, and it allows us to really streamline our facility use and increase the use. As well, in the last year, we had launched a full cohort of updated recreation programming. It was mainly focused on youth aged 6 to 13 and focused on such things as art, cooking and life skill programming, Friday night socials, and home alone safety programs. We had a great uptake on these programs and were able to run a few of them, but unfortunately due to COVID-19, some of them had to be canceled, but overall we had a tremendous uptake on the programs, and we will be continuing these types of programs into the fall and moving forward within recreation in West Grey. For new programming coming in the fall and winter, we'll be focusing on multi-sport programming, focusing on our younger kiddos who are trying to get into sport, focusing on physical literacy, as well as just building those sport fundamental skills. Those will be focused for kiddos aged 5 to 8, and then moving into the older school age children, we'll be focusing on babysitting and life skill programming. Recently, we were able to sign on with the Red Cross, who I have been an instructor for quite a while now. So we'll be able to offer some new programs, and with the changes and everything coming down the pipe, the Red Cross has really pushed out different modified learning in whatever the COVID-19 brings. And as we bring back into classroom type environments, we'll be able to offer lots more programming coming through, as well as we will be offering holiday and March break programming, as well as CPR and first aid moving into the fall and winter, and as we slowly open up recreation. As well, over the last 6 months to in the last 6 months to about a year, we focused on some updates to our policies. So to complement our online registration software, we've also kept going with in-person and our customer service type forms. So we have refund request forms as well as facility request forms that can be used in conjunction with the online software. As well, we've updated our facility code of conduct for users, updated our rental agreements and all of our wording surrounding that to make the rental process more streamlined, as well as we've created a participant concussion toolkit that's used by our recreation programs as well as our users to help manage concussion and keep all of our users safe. As well, we have also been working with public health and governing agencies to focus on updates to our municipal alcohol policy and overall how our facilities function as a whole. We've been bringing a lot of improvements into rec, and I'm really excited to see them come to light as things slowly open. So next we will go over updates to the municipal alcohol policy. For tonight's presentation, we won't be diving in to the municipal alcohol policy word for word, but rather highlighting some minor changes that we've done just with housekeeping to keep the policy up to date, make sure that we're following the most recent legislation, and to just make the policy more consistent and have an overall better flow. So what is a municipal alcohol policy? A municipal alcohol policy outlines the safe and appropriate use of alcohol in municipal owned or managed properties, places, spaces, and events. The policy supports the existing provincial guidelines already in place and reflects the local government's perspective. Essentially what this states is a municipal alcohol policy outlines how events involving alcohol are to be run and how alcohol is managed at the events and within our municipal facilities. So why do we need a municipal alcohol policy or a MAP? It promotes a safe environment in the municipal facilities. It protects our assets, both as a renter and as a municipality. It ensures the health and safety of everybody involved, including the participants, staff, and the community, which I feel is the most important duty of a municipal alcohol policy, and it helps to reduce alcohol-related problems such as injury, violence, and liability. Essentially, it just puts into place policies and procedures to ensure that everybody is safe during events that may include alcohol. How is a municipal alcohol policy developed? A municipal alcohol policy isn't something that we pull out of thin air. It's a large document that takes a lot of time and different individuals to craft. It's, as we'll cover later in the presentation, it's based off of many different types of legislation, and it's built with a team. I would almost say a village at some points. There's a lot of hands that get involved with a municipal alcohol policy, and it's a really interesting process to be a part of. It's developed with public health agencies, including Braebridge Public Health and Public Health Ontario. It's developed with the Alcohol and Gaming Commission of Ontario. We work with our insurance providers and legal teams to create this document, and it's vetted through all of these organizations to make sure that we are following what we need to as a municipality and making sure we have our I's dotted and our T's crossed. The different legislation, as I had made previous mention to, the Liquor License Act, the Ontario Lottery and Gaming Corporation Act, the Private Security and Investigative Securities Act, the Alcohol and Gaming Commission of Ontario, Public Health Ontario, Grey Bruce Public Health, and the Ontario Recreation Facilities Association, as well as we work closely with Parks and Recreation Ontario as well to make sure that we are following all relevant legislation. So moving into the policy and some updates. There's just been housekeeping with language, just making sure that it's updated and current, and it really makes sense to all renters. So as defined by Public Health and the Alcohol and Gaming Commission of Ontario, a standard drink within our policy and what will be served in our facilities in accordance with the alcohol policy is a 12-ounce beer with a 5% alcohol, or a 5-ounce wine with 12% alcohol, or a 1-ounce spirit with roughly about 40% alcohol to be mixed with a mixer. And a mixer is referred to as a juice or a pop that you would mix a spirit or liqueur with. I will make mention, while a tall boy is not considered a standard drink in accordance with Public Health and the Alcohol Gaming Commission of Ontario, we know that many of our renters do use tall boys when having events in our facilities. So we have amended the municipal alcohol policy to fit with a tall boy can of beer, which is better known as a 16-ounce can with a 5% alcohol. And those are able to be served as long as it fits within the parameters outlined in the policy. Another update to the policy is the youth admittance, and this was changed in accordance with the Alcohol and Gaming Commission of Ontario. So it is a risk-based admittance. So when youth are admitted to an event, it is something that is pre-approved either by the AGCO or the municipality. When youth are admitted, if it is an event that has youth who are under the age of majority, wristbands will be provided for all age of majority patrons, essentially meaning that if I were above the age of majority and able to drink while at an event, I would be required to wear a wristband to prove to bartenders and event staff that I am of age to be able to drink. If there are outdoor events where youth are permitted, there may be the need for such barricades or fencing to be required, just possibly fencing surrounding something such as beer gardens. As well, when youth are permitted to an event, there is to be no alcohol-based promotion or branding. And that is all in accordance with the AGCO. An update to the policy is language surrounding costume or masquerade events. So essentially events where costumes or masks may be worn. In events such as these, they must be pre-approved by the booking coordinator, who would either be a facility manager or myself. And ID and wristbands will be checked for all patrons. Similar to youth-based events, anybody who is of age of majority for these events will be required to wear a wristband just to prove that they are of the age of majority and able to drink while at the events. As well, patrons must be able to prove identity at an event. So essentially what this means in events where there are costumes that would have large amounts of costume makeup, where if I were to look at somebody's ID, I would need to be able to tell who it is. So essentially events where if the makeup made it so that we wouldn't be able to see who they are in accordance with their ID, that wouldn't be permitted. But if it's as simple as lifting up your mask or taking off your hat to prove your identity, that's A-okay in accordance with the municipal alcohol policy. But this is something that we'll work through with renters as well as event goers to make sure that everybody has an enjoyable event and can wear their costume, hopefully. For the safe environment of the event, this is just some housekeeping within the language. So this is just updated language that has been included in the municipal alcohol policy before, but it's just to make it more clear to users and readers of the policy, sorry. So alcohol, in accordance with the SOP, can be served between 11 and 1 a.m. or as marked. So for events that may fall on a special holiday such as New Year's, the SOP could possibly be extended, but that's up to the AGCO. As well, with updates to the policy, we are now allowing alcohol that is in its original manufacturer's container to be moved past the bar, except those that are in glass containers. So any alcohol that is in a glass container must be poured into a cup. However, cans and plastic bottles are permitted onto the floor of the facility as long as they are less than a 14% alcohol content or a 473 milliliter volume. Marking and stickers may be required on originally manufactured containers, but this is to the jurisdiction of the facility manager. So that will be something that we will work through with the renter to see if there is a need during the event. Promotion of straight liquor or shots is not permitted, nor any shot paraphernalia. This was always included in the municipal alcohol policy. However, it wasn't very clear. So there's clear language now stating that straight liquor, or shots cannot be provided at events or can be promoted. Non-alcoholic drinks must cost less than alcoholic drinks. So if you were having a special smoothie, let's say, that is a non-alcoholic drink, it's fine to charge for such drinks. However, they must cost the same or less than an alcoholic drink being served in the venue. As well, in housekeeping of the language, sufficient food and non-alcoholic drinks must be provided, and insufficient food, it must be more than chips and peanuts. It must be something a little bit more hearty to provide guests with the opportunity to have a full stomach while drinking at our events. In continuing the safe environment, as mentioned previously, no shooters or shots are permitted, and in accordance with the AGCO, no Jello shots are also permitted within the facilities. As mentioned, promotion of straight liquor is not permitted, as well as drinking games and discounted drinks are not allowed. Essentially what this states is drinks must remain at the same price for the whole night. So as it gets closer to midnight, let's say, you couldn't have a sale on the drink tickets that you would be selling at a Stag and Doe, let's say. All activities and games that the renter is planning should be reviewed for risk by the renter, just making sure that you're keeping in what I always say is the worst case scenario. What could happen if we did this? What could happen if we were doing this game? And just making sure that you're mitigating all risk. And at any point during the facility rental or planning process, myself and the facility managers are more than willing to work with renters to help review our risks and have a successful event. As well, in thinking of our environmental impact, we're encouraging renters, although not mandatory, to source alcohol that can be served in the original manufacturer's container. So rather than renters purchasing alcohol to be served, that maybe beer that comes in a glass bottle, maybe we can look and see if we can get cans to help cut down on our single-use plastics, because as majority of us know, often the plastic cups that we would pour a beer or drink into unfortunately cannot be recycled or composted. So just thinking of our environmental impact and really trying to cut down on that. With housekeeping updates to the policy, we have updated and changed our consequences for consumption in undesignated areas. For users who are familiar with our facilities, when you attend an event that may be licensed, there'll be certain areas of the facility, such as the hall, that you are permitted to have alcoholic beverages in and drink in, and there'll be certain areas of the facility, such as dressing rooms or bathrooms, that you would not be permitted to drink in. So for an infraction of somebody who is caught drinking in, let's say, a bathroom, for example, this would apply to both the renter as well as the person who is caught drinking in the undesignated area. There would be first a written warning from the municipality. So this would come as registered mail or letter, essentially warning the renter or person of the consequences for the infraction of drinking in an undesignated area. As well, out of our control, this person who is caught drinking could be subject to fines and fees as outlined by the local authorities. The second infraction, if within 3 years, the renter or possibly team, depending on if it is league-based, could be barred from rental by the municipality, and this would be subject to a term as outlined by the municipality. And again, subject to fees fines and fees as outlined by the local authority. If an individual league becomes a repeat offender of consuming alcohol in undesignated areas, the whole league themselves could be barred from rental. But as we know in West Grey, we really like to follow the rules, so we won't have to use this policy at all, but it's in there in the event that we possibly need it. So how to book a licensed event. So this is the current proposal of how you would book a licensed event, and it's essentially an easy 7-step process. So the first step would be to contact the municipality, either through our online booking system or just give us a call to confirm the availability of the space you would like to rent. The second step would be to confirm the rental by paying your deposit, and this essentially holds your spot until the date of the rental. If you are hoping to license your event, the third step would be to obtain your special occasion permit through the Alcohol Gaming Commission of Ontario. As some users may be aware, the Alcohol and Gaming Commission of Ontario has made the not so recent switch in about the last 5 years to no longer offer standard operating special occasion permits, through liquor outlets such as the LCBO. It's now an online process where you would obtain your SOP. The fourth step would be to work with the facility supervisor or manager to organize security and event workers. So this would include your bartenders, ticket sellers, as well as your floor and door monitors. The fifth step would be to complete the Appendix B in the municipal alcohol policy. This essentially outlines the various games, guests, and things that could be happening throughout the event, and make sure that as a renter, you have your due diligence done and have your event planned in accordance with the municipal alcohol policy. And this is something both myself and the facility supervisors are more than happy to work through with renters. So the sixth step is the most fun part. This is where you really get to plan your event out. So you get to invite your guests, organize the event, purchase all of your alcohol and liquor through a registered outlet, as well as organize your food and transportation and work on your decorations and supplies and all the fun meat and potatoes of an event. And the last step of the event would be to have the event, and that's it. Essentially clean up afterwards, and that's all. So moving into the municipal licensing proposal. So it should be noted that the licensing proposal is separate from the municipal alcohol policy. The licensing proposal essentially looks at the municipality holding the license themselves. This would mean that as a municipality, we would be responsible for all of the alcohol management at an event. We would be responsible for purchasing as well as supplying it at the event, and we would be the servers of the alcohol. Regardless of if our facilities are licensed or not, the municipal alcohol policy, once approved by council, still stands. Essentially, the licensing would allow the municipality to serve at events, and we would act almost as the bar. So why are we exploring the licensing? We are exploring the licensing at the request of council. We are also exploring it because it could relate to increased revenue for our arenas, and it would aid in an easier process for renters. There would be no need for the renters to obtain an SOP. It would allow alcohol sales permitted at different events previous than what we've seen before, as well as it would allow for the opportunity for more blue line style bars, so bars during sporting events. The effect of the municipality licensing on the renter. If the municipality were to license its recreation facilities, the renter would hold less liability because they would not be obtaining a special occasion permit. However, in the renter obtaining less liability, that liability would then fall onto the municipality themselves. In licensing, it would allow for streamlined rentals and possibly quicker turnaround on licensed events because there would be no need to obtain an SOP. It would already be in place. As well, with the municipality licensing, there'd be no need for the renter to cover costs for security, bartenders, corkage, or purchasing alcohol. All of the bar-related costs would then fall on the municipality to cover. However, with this being said, there would be an only 10% profit share with renters. For example, at majority of Buck and Does and events, drinks are sold around $4. With a 10% profit share, it would only mean a 40-cent return to renters per drink sold. The previous profit share in our current model, depending on the drink, which type of alcohol it is anywhere from $2 to $2.50 per drink. The profit, if the municipality license, this would apply to all facility users, who are having licensed events. So it would apply to service clubs, committees, and all sports organizations. Again, continuing what it looks like for the municipality as a whole, it would increase our SOCAN, which is our music licensing fees, as well as our alcohol and gaming commission fees. Essentially because the renter would no longer be required to obtain a special occasion permit, the municipality would have to pick up various one-time licensing fees that are quite large in order to license our facilities, and these would renew year after year. Again, as stated previously, because the liability now for all licensed events would fall on to the municipality, which in turn could cause increased insurance deductibles. In continuing the impact on the municipality, because as we know, licensing events is quite an undertaking, and there's often more cleanup and setup involved in us being able to license more events. There would be often larger breaks in between rentals to allow for cleaning and setup times between the events. Again, with the licensing, we would have increased wear and tear on our facilities due to the demand, usage, and the various types of events that we would be seeing. One of the largest impacts of licensing our facilities would be the increased staffing demand, both full and part-time. Previously, if a renter were to run a Buck and Doe, let's say, for example, a lot of the event workers or help with the event would often be friends or volunteers helping out the happy couple who's having the Buck and Doe. However, once the municipality takes on these types of events and having the licensing, we can't have our friends help us out. Our friends now become paid staff. And it would be an increased demand on both full and part-time staff, possibly relating in there needing to be a larger staffing cohort under recreation. And continuing the impact on West Grey, in licensing our facilities, it could possibly aid in increased revenue on the recreation services side. However, we would now be required to hold security on site for all events that are licensed. As well, alcohol would now need to be stored on premises as previous to renters bringing it in. So the numbers you'll see in front of you are the cost comparison of rental. So in our current model, where the renter obtains the special occasion permit, the rental cost is for a standard Buck and Doe, and in pulling these numbers, I pulled various Buck and Does over the past year and averaged out the costs. So the average cost for a Buck and Doe within one of our larger recreation centers would cost the renter about $1,600, not including the purchase of alcohol. The return on alcohol sales to the renter at that point in holding the special occasion permit themselves would be between $2 to $2.50 as stated earlier, depending on the type of alcohol being served. With this model, the total alcohol sales revenue for a renter holding the special occasion permit would be approximately $2,000. This $2,000 does not include if tickets were sold for the event. If the municipality were to hold the licensing, the rental cost for the renter would drop to about $750. This is because the renter would be no longer required to cover such fees such as corkage or security. However, with this, as mandated by the Alcohol and Gaming Commission and the Liquor License Act, the return on investment for alcohol sales could only be a maximum of 10%, making the return on a $4 drink 40 cents, taking the total alcohol sales revenue returned to the renter at the end of the event to $300. Both of these numbers were outlined based on the same event and the same amount of drinks being sold at an event. And this does not include the ticket sales or the alcohol purchase. So now we are going to open the floor to public comment. We are first going to start with comments based surrounding the updates to the municipal alcohol policy, as well as the facility licensing. And then once we have completed those comments, if time permits, we will move into questions and comments surrounding recreation as a whole. Just to give you an outline on how the public comment period will function. When unmuted, we will have you state your name and organization, if applicable, if you are joining us as part of an organization. And then you will have 2 minutes to state your question or phrase your comment based on the municipal alcohol policy or the facility licensing. If you have joined us by the computer, you can click on the hand button, which is located in the lower right-hand corner of your screen to raise your hand, or if you have joined us by if you've joined us by phone, rather, you can press *9 to raise your hand. If you would like, you can also send a chat message to Lindsay Glazier, our clerk's assistant, and she will read your comment into the record and I will respond.
Hi everyone, it's Kevin Tremble, representing the Durham Thundercats. I'm also a local resident of West Grey. On behalf of the Durham Thundercats, we strongly oppose the idea of licensing municipal buildings for the sale of alcohol. We are a nonprofit organization that struggles to break even every year. Having a volunteer-run bar at our home hockey games is extremely important to the operation of our hockey club. The proposed municipal license with a 10% profit share would cause significant financial hardship.
Thank you, Cody. This is the CIO, Laura Johnson, speaking now. Very informative and a lot of information for our audience. I will be calling on the participants who have raised their hand in the order that I see them, and I will ask, as we've mentioned, if you could just mention your name and phrase your question, and we will respond. The first hand that I see is for Kay Tremble. I'm thinking that's Kevin Tremble. If we could unmute that mic, please.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Yes, it is Kevin Tremble. I am representing the Durham Thundercats and also a local resident of West Grey. I just have some comments on behalf of the Durham Thundercats. We strongly oppose the idea of licensing municipal buildings for the sale of alcohol in West Grey. We are a nonprofit organization that struggles to break even every year. Having a volunteer-run bar at our home hockey games is extremely important to the operation of our hockey club. The proposed municipal licensing with a 10% profit share would cause significant financial hardship to our organization to the point that it may be difficult to run our club. Our contributions to West Grey are not insignificant. During the 2019-20 hockey season, we paid West Grey over $15,000 in ice time, hall rentals, corkage, and bartender fees. Our contribution to the community is important as well, too. We provide cost-friendly entertainment in the form of weekly hockey games, comedy nights, and other entertainment. Events such as Accommodate has a significant upfront cost to get comedians to come to West Grey. Without the upside of running a profitable bar, these events won't happen at West Grey facilities. Tonight, you'll hear from several groups, as well as groups that can attend. We will all share the same message, that licensing municipal facilities in West Grey is not the best in the best interest for residents. Tonight, you won't hear from young couples that get engaged this fall to decide if it's worth the effort to organize a stag and do. Will they still choose to have one if they can't make a decent amount of money at it? Almost all weddings, there's an open bar that the bride and groom cover. Will couples decide to have their weddings at a private venue to potentially save several thousand of dollars in alcohol costs? West Grey has several spectacular halls. We should be doing everything we can to encourage the usage of these halls and not make it more difficult. I commend council and staff on bringing the subject to the town hall meeting before rushing to a decision. That's the right thing to do. Now I hope they do the right thing again and vote against licensing municipal facilities in West Grey. Thanks.
Thank you very much. The next hand that I see is a number ending in 322. Could we unmute that mic, please? Good evening.
Yes, good evening. My name is Andy McGregor, and it's my honor to be the president of the West Grey Durham Lions Club. I'm here this evening representing our almost 50-strong members' unanimous opposition to this proposal. As you're aware, the Lions Club plays an integral role in our community. For 12 years now, the Lions Club has been making a difference, making this community a better place to live. Our motto is we serve, and we have done this in many different ways, far too many to list tonight. Fundraising has and always will be a very big part of what the Lions Club does. For without fundraising, we would not be able to give back in the many ways that we do. Every penny we raise is reinvested in the community. For example, in the past, the Lions Club had used municipal facilities to run dances, concerts, chicken dinners. Running the bar is always our main source of revenue at these events. And if you take away our fundraising at these events, there just won't be any events. Every July 1st, the West Grey Durham Lions Club puts on a first-rate Canada event for everyone in West Grey, with activities for the entire family, live entertainment, and capped off with a spectacular fireworks display. If you decide to take away from us the money that we use to help offset the expenses, you will also be taking away our ability to run this great day. What then? Do you then organize and run this day? Do you put this day on for everyone? Or do you just cancel it? Again, no fundraising, no events. This proposal will greatly reduce our ability to give back to and do work in the community. Currently, we have committed to rebuilding the Heritage Bridge Park. No small feat that will require lots of fundraising moving forward. This proposal will slow down our ability to raise money. If you're in the rental hall business, and you are, have you done your cost analysis of these facilities? Have you compared your rental rates to the rates of your competitors? Are you overpriced? Would you increase your rentals and bring in more money if you lowered your rates? How is your service compared to other competitors? If you follow through with this cash grab, that will be the end of the buck and dough. The end for young people just starting out trying to make ends meet. The end of the beginning. It's tough enough these days without our elected officials putting an end to our traditions. The list goes on and on who will be affected. I assume you have estimated the amount of money this proposal would bring in for you. Have you also estimated the cost of this proposal to the community? Things would just cease to exist. Have you considered alternatives to taking money out of the pockets of the people who then take that money and help others? Instead of coming up with creative and easy ways to take more money out of the pockets of the good people of West Grey, I would ask that you do your homework and find other ways to increase revenues. This proposal, without a doubt, will impact people's ability to make ends meet. And this, of all times, is not the time to do this.
Mr. McGregor,
I'd like
may
to
I
thank
ask
you
you if you're,
for
if you're
the opportunity to speak to you
Okay.
tonight. Thank you very much.
thank you very much. The next hand I see belongs to Alex. May we unmute that mic, please?
Hi there, Alex Nyman, resident in West Grey in Durham. Also the co-chair, one of the co-chairs of the Durham Homecoming for 2022. As a lot of you know, every 10 years, Durham holds a homecoming event. This event brings in over 1,000 patrons every day. And my question is to, I guess, council, as it's their idea, is how do you plan to staff an event like homecoming? You have dances, multiple dances throughout a 4 or 5 day event, multiple locations of bars at the arenas, the ball diamonds, downtown areas. How do you plan to staff those events? And my second question is, you've Cody, in your package here, you've alluded to an increased revenue. What is the plan for that revenue? As Andy and Kevin have both said, that the revenues created from these events by local service clubs goes directly back into the community. Is the municipality going to share, the plans with that money? Is it going to go to things like the Heritage Bridge, to the resurfacing of the tennis courts, the addition of the basketball courts? Many projects around town have been funded by local service clubs. And, it's great that they do that, but what's the municipality's plan? Are they just going to put the money in the pocket? Does it go into a fund? What's the plan? So my two questions are, how do you staff events like these? And what's the plan for this increased revenue? Thank you.
Thank you, Alex, and thank you for your questions. As mentioned at the beginning of the meeting, we're gathering information, so this isn't a council meeting, so I won't be able to direct your first question specifically to members of council, but we have noted it. And should council give direction to staff to proceed down this route, then that would be one of the considerations that staff would have to propose to council in the matter of staffing. And I can pass the mic over to Mr. Hewlett to address the plans for revenue. I suspect it might be very much the same as the staffing question. Cody, do you mind confirming if you've given any thought to that?
Yes, absolutely. And thank you, Madam CAO, for essentially taking the words out of my mouth for that one. For the revenue, at this time, I cannot state where the revenue would sit. However, I did want to clear the air that the revenue would not be based off of the alcohol sales. The revenue would be based off of the hall rental fees. That's where the revenue would sit, as in accordance with the LLA. No user is technically supposed to profit off of, the sale of alcohol. My assumption would be that the revenue from hall rentals and that sort of thing would just end up in the general recreation funds, which would possibly help to lower the recreation strain on the tax base. However, without council motion or approval, I cannot state where the revenue would sit.
Yes, very good. Thank you. I see Don Tremble has his hand up. Could we unmute his mic, please? Did we lose him? Oh, no, there he is. Just unmute.
Hi, Dawn. You might be getting a message that says, allow me to unmute you. You have to click that to be able to speak.
How's that?
Very good. Good
Good.
evening.
Just sitting here listening and on this being a business person and staffing, I feel it's going to be very difficult. I can't hire people now, part-time, full-time. I got ads in the papers. I don't know how we're going to figure you're going to do it, because you're going to want people to work weekends, which nobody wants to work weekends. And we have a hard enough time as the Thundercats and stuff. If it wasn't for Colleen, we would struggle. You guys would struggle getting us help to begin with. And again, like all the money from this, it all goes back into the community for all the stuff that's, and why do we want to have more staff and more liability in West Grey? Like, just going to increase our taxes, because if we don't make any money, if you guys don't make any money on these events, and it's going to end up costing the taxpayer also on the alcohol. So if I host an event and I want a bottle of scotch and I want this kind of beer and I want that kind of beer, am I going to be limited to what I can have? And say I ask for a bottle of scotch and you sell half of it, who's going to absorb that cost? And also the old inventory. We all know how inventory, I have a business, how inventory disappears. Who's going to look after that? You're going to have that big chance of break-ins. I know the curling club has that issue. It's just, it's working now. Why do we want to break something that's working in this day and age? If anything, we should be working as West Grey of making it more available at a cheaper rate to rent, so the money goes right back into community stuff that as taxpayers don't have to pay. It's just the wrong time to even suggest something like this. There's lots of other things we should be doing in this town. We should be cleaning up our downtown than worrying about liquor license. There's things we can do that could increase people coming here. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Trumbull. We have captured your comments. If I may go to Lindsay to see if anyone's participating by chat.
Yes, I do have a comment from Rachel Lowther. She is not part of a group, but she does have the Newstead Hall rented for her wedding in October. She wants to know, will this alcohol policy be in place for existing contracts if it were to be passed? And what will be happening for open bars at weddings?
Cody, do you mind answering those questions?
Yes,
Thank you.
absolutely. And if I may, I'm interpreting it as two separate questions. So the alcohol policy being one, and the second being how will the licensing possibly affect open bars? I would anticipate that by October, the current alcohol policy that we have proposed would be in effect, as I am hoping to take it to council late August, early September. So I would anticipate that it would be in place for your October wedding. However, with the updates and changes to the alcohol policy, they are very minor, and as I stated, housekeeping, so they wouldn't affect your wedding that you have rented very much, if at all. For having an open bar with the licensing, if we were to license, it would look a little bit different than how it would currently. If we were to license and you having an open bar at your wedding, essentially after your wedding, you would be invoiced out for the amount of alcohol served at the wedding at a predetermined rate. So as opposed to currently you just having to supply the alcohol and pay the corkage fees, now you would be invoiced out at a preset rate following your wedding for the amount of alcohol consumed at your event.
Very good. Thank you, Cody. Lindsay, are there any other messages that came through the chat?
No, that is all that I have. Thank you.
Thank you. And I don't see any other hands from our audience right now. Oh, I do see another hand. Mr. Trumbull, could we unmute Kevin's mic again, please?
Thanks. Just a couple more comments. From what I read in the June 30th minutes, staff
Kevin,
recommended, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Yeah. So from what I read in the June 30th minutes, staff recommended to council that they approve the municipal alcohol policy, but not the municipal licensing facilities. Is that correct?
That was correct, as outlined in the staff report that you have reviewed. Myself being the author of that staff report, we had recommended the approval of the municipal alcohol policy that was brought forward, and upon first review, we had recommended to not license the facility as you had outlined.
Okay. And just a second point to that, from your presentation, Cody, it does look like you still believe that it's not the right way to go just by all the points you've outlined. With your one comment about more blue lining at events, just doing some quick math there, at 40 cents sale of a bottle of beer, you'd have to, and the hall rental fee for a blue line is $113. You'd have to sell just almost 12 cases to break even. I've run the Thundercats for the last 8 years. We've never sold 12 cases at a regular non-playoff hockey game. So I don't see that for being a real increase, a real incentive for people to take you up on. There'd be no profit there.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks.
Thank you for your comments.
Doing a quick look, and I don't see any other hands. Lindsay, any other chats coming through?
No, I don't see any. Thank you.
Thank you. And I know there was an awful lot of information presented tonight. Cody, could you remind our audience of the next steps or the opportunities to participate beyond this evening?
Yes, and if I may, I did state that first we were going to allow for comments based on the alcohol policy and licensing. I would just like to open the floor to see if anybody had any questions or comments just about recreation generally.
Lindsay, could you unmute Don Tremble's mic, please? Go ahead, Don.
Just one further thing on these programs we're doing, which I think are great. What kind of attendance are we getting for are these programs that you're running? Like, are we getting 100 kids or 150 kids per program, or what kind of results are we getting from these programs that we've started?
So in response to your question, our programs, I wish we could open them to 100 and 150 kids. However, in response to Parks and Recreation Ontario, as well as the different organizations that I am bound to, we are required to essentially hold certain ratios. So our maximum ratio for a child age 10 to 13 would be one leader to about 12 participants. So with that, we are seeing high numbers in our programs. So each program that we have had the opportunity to run, we have either capped off or come very close to our cap. Unfortunately, due to COVID-19, some of our programs were canceled, but every program that we did operate, we did run at essentially the cap or just below. With one of the home alone programs that we did offer, that would have been towards the end of the school year, I believe it was June, we actually had more registration than I could even handle. As soon as the program opened, the phones were almost ringing off the hook, so that was really happy to see with one of our first rec programs.
Thank you, Cody. Mr. Tremble, anything further? Oh, he's muted, sorry.
No, I was just wondering how they were going and what that's great.
Good, thank you. Is there anyone else that has questions about anything that was presented this evening? Well, we certainly appreciate your participation. One last check on the chat. Is there anything coming through, Lindsay? Nothing coming through. Okay, thank you. Cody, would you mind reminding folks how they can continue to participate, and perhaps they could let others know about the presentation, how it's available, and the opportunities for those who couldn't attend tonight to get involved?
Yes, absolutely. And I would first off like to thank everybody who has joined us tonight for all of your comments and questions regarding recreation in general, licensing of our facilities, as well as the municipal alcohol policy. So in further to this presentation or community information session, sorry. It doesn't end here. We are also providing a feedback form for anybody who would like to provide feedback on anything discussed, whether it be recreation as a whole, the licensing, or the municipal alcohol policy. The feedback form will be available on the homepage of our website, westgrey.com, as well as it'll be also available under the news and notices section. It'll be available for about the next week or so, so anybody can review the presentation, we will have a recording of the presentation posted there, as well as there's a survey that can be filled out. Additionally, if you would like to provide extra comments or questions that were not captured in the survey or not covered tonight, you can also reach out to myself. My name is Cody Hewlett. I am the Recreation Supervisor. You can give me a call here at the office at 519-369-2200, and I sit at extension 240, or you can send me an email, or we have a secure Dropbox at the office where you can also put your comments in as well. All comments and information provided will be summarized and provided to council at an upcoming meeting, where we will further explore the licensing of our facilities, as well as our municipal alcohol policy and just recreation as a whole. So the next step, as I had already made mention to, the updated municipal alcohol policy and comments will be brought forward to a future council meeting. I am anticipating that this will probably be towards the end of this month or towards the end of August or early September. Staff will prepare a report as well regarding the licensing of municipal facilities, including the comments. If council did go ahead and support the licensing of the facilities, it would not be put in place during the 2020 year. It would be brought as a discussion during our 2021 budget considerations to outline the various options for licensing our facilities, because there are a few different options available. And again, I would just like to thank everybody who joined us, either joined us live tonight over Zoom, or if you're listening to this meeting, I would also like to thank you for joining us. Again, my name is Cody Hewlett. I'm the Recreation Supervisor with West Grey. If you have any comments that you would like to share beyond the scope of the survey that will be posted to our website, you feel free to reach out. You can get me here at the office at 519-369-2200, extension 240, or you can email me at khewlett@westgrey.com, or alternatively, you can drop your comments in the secure Dropbox located at the West Grey Municipal Office, and the address is there at the bottom of the slide. Thank you, everybody, for your input tonight.